Arbitrum has just broken all-time highs and is about to enter price discovery. I have been accumulating Arbitrum-related altcoins ever since the end of the year 2022, and we are looking at immense upside potential taking place in many of these low-cap cryptos. Now comes the most opportune time to find undervalued ecosystems, invest into some of the projects built inside of them, and look to hold for the next couple years. For today's video, I'm going to break down 10 of my favorite investments that I currently hold on Arbitrum that I think are going to be providing some of the best long-term gains moving forward into this cycle. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, here we are to start off today's video, and we are taking a look at Arbitrum. As you guys can tell, we have seen a massive breakout. We have retested the prior all-time highs as new support, and even though we ended up seeing this final lower low to kind of trap out all of those over-leveraged longs, we are seeing the reversal that I expected to play out. Now as it stands, when we're looking at the token of Arbitrum, I don't think that this is the greatest investment when we're trying to find something to invest in Arbitrum. If you hold Arbitrum, it's not like it's a bad thing, especially when we're looking at the price doing something like this. But what I'm saying is I think that the better upside potential is going to be found inside of some of the cryptos built on Arbitrum, considering the market caps are significantly more undervalued, the tokens are actually needed. Arbitrum's a governance token. It really just doesn't do anything besides allow people to vote inside the DAO. So when we're looking at Arbitrum, even though the token's taking off, I'm using it as a representation and kind of like an index to look at, because if Arbitrum's in price discovery, this signals that we're about to see a lot of new money coming back into the rest of the ecosystem. Now, the first one we're going to be talking about today is GMX. This is my personal biggest investment in the Arbitrum ecosystem, and this is a perpetuals decentralized exchange. Now, when we're looking at what could potentially see the most upside, I don't think you can go wrong holding GMX just because of the fact, you know, at 500 million, I would consider this a mid-cap crypto, but it is getting closer to the point of being, you know, a little bit more overvalued as far as trying to find the best return possible on your investment, but I still think that the returns will be excellent. What these guys have done is kind of paved the way for a new set of tokenomics inside of the decentralized exchange market, and what we're actually seeing is by us actually providing liquidity inside of this exchange, we're actually able to participate in revenue sharing opportunities, and I do believe that that is the future of finance, and we will see, you know, we've already seen a lot of projects copy and hard fork the code of GMX because what they've done tokenomically is actually kind of revolutionary. So when we're looking at this, I really like this setup. One of my favorite setups that I always tell you guys about, stacking one waves. That's all we've pretty much been building this entire accumulation. Even when we went through this correction right here, all we were doing was just finishing out our wave 2 correction. All this was your standard A, B, and C back down after we saw 5 waves up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. That was our second impulse. So we've seen an impulse here, 5 waves up, ABC correction back down. This completed our wave 1 impulse, and then we saw another impulse right here, an ABC correction back down. This completed our wave 1 of 3. So when we're looking at where we're at big picture, this thing has an immense amount of upside potential coming. I always share with you guys Elliott wave theory, and this is where we're at in the grand scheme of things. All we finished was this wave 1 impulse and wave 2 correction, and we've just finished a subwave wave 1 and wave 2, and that's where we're at right here, awaiting this big parabolic move into a wave 3. So I do believe that that's where we're headed next. Overall, we're working on this inverse head and shoulder. Once we break out of the neckline right here, that gives us a target of our prior all-time highs. It's a very obvious pattern that's actually playing out right here. It's super easy to see, and that gives us a target back up to about $88. So I do think that this one's going to be going into a new all-time high very soon, and because of our Elliott wave count being at the very beginning of this wave 3, I do believe that the biggest part of the upside is just about to be coming in right now. So definitely watch out for GMX. It's the leader of Arbitrum as far as the tokens go. Now next up is going to be Magic or Treasure DAO. This one is going to be inside of the gaming and NFT niche, and this one is a very good looking setup. Now big picture, a lot of these Arbitrum altcoins have only ever maintained higher highs ever since June, and they've looked very bullish throughout. They've made big impulses when ETH ended up making, you know, lower highs, and I do believe that this is going to be a period where we're going to see, you know, Arbitrum as a whole continue to outperform. Now Magic is currently retesting our trend line, giving everybody an amazing opportunity to get into this market at a good price, a discounted price. Overall, I do believe that this will end up bouncing off of this trend line before we start making a much bigger move. I do believe that this one's going to be running back up to these range highs, being, you know, a little over $2 to about $2.50. And then once we can really get above these range highs, I think that that's what sets us in for a move all the way up to the top of this lower high, being about just sub $4. That's going to be where we're setting in these much bigger impulses coming into this cycle. And this is really the last moment where we have the opportunity of accumulating fairly close back down here to the range lows on some of the top projects that are going to garner some of the most attention and hype and adoption going into this next cycle. Arbitrum is already taking off and seeing a ton of new adoption. All of the layer 2s we've been covering on this channel, being Optimism, Arbitrum, and MetaStyle, are all blowing up, and it's an early sign that we're going to continue to see some of this money filtering back into these layer 2s because of the scalability of Ethereum. Now, Magic being the NFT niche in gaming, I don't think you can really go wrong, and it only has about $260 million in total market cap. It's still undervalued long term, so watch out for Magic. Now, next up is going to be Radiant Capital, and this is going to be a lending protocol, and it's more or less just a cross-chain lending protocol that allows you to interact with any sort of chain and dApp. Now, this is going to be really cool. It's built and powered by Layer 0, which is going to be a chain that releases sometime this year, and it's already raised like $400 or $500 million, so I do expect that that's going to be a pretty massive launch when it comes time. And with this being built on it, it's right now on our Arbitrum, and that's why we're talking about it, but it's mainly built on Layer 0, which is going to be kind of a big competitor against Arbitrum and Optimism in some of these, but I do believe that overall this one is one you want to be getting in now before the launch of Layer 0, because this is when the early part of the hype is in. If Layer 0 launches, these are going to absolutely send it. Now, when we're looking at this, all we've completed was 5 waves up. That was right here. Then we just finished this ABC correction. So as it stands, this entire first move is only a 1 wave and a 2 wave correction. We're getting ready for a wave 3, right? So remember, when we're looking at Elliott waves, we're right here at the very bottom, well, kind of after the bottom, but at the beginning of this new wave 3. And this is the wave that's coming right here next. So we do want to be aware of that, looking at the potential of this thing going into a pretty decent high, considering if we look at a minimum target based off Fibonacci, we're going to be looking at about just over $1 from this point. And I do think it could far overextend that when it comes to this move. If this is a wave 3, sometimes they go all the way to the 2618. Sometimes they just dwarf every single fib target and then just fly past everybody's expectations. For me, that's why I'm more interested in holding this long term. You know, it would be a good run if we hit the 1 or the 2618, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to take profits at those levels, just understanding Elliott wave theory rules. But I think that this one's one that I'm holding long term, along with, you know, all of these on today's list. I think they're at such undervalued points that you can't really go wrong just sitting on them. And I believe that the majority of people, if not everybody, is going to cost themselves more long-term profit trying to trade in and out of these things. That's just what I've seen most people do inside the market, so watch out for Radiant. Now, next up is going to be Grail or Camelot DEX. This is becoming one of the bigger DEXs inside of the Arbitrum ecosystem. It's also a launch pad, so you can participate in different launches that are going to be taking place. Overall, all we finished are a wave 1, a wave 3, and I do believe that we're getting ready for this final wave 5 up. We're probably going to come up to about $2,800, more or less tagging this level right here. And then from there, I wouldn't be surprised if we did see some type of correction, maybe coming all the way back down to retesting this support at like $1,100 to $1,200. You know, smash through this trend line before, you know, we kind of start that next cycle. I would expect something along the lines of this. We could come all the way back down, even just a little bit lower than I have drawn, maybe something like this. But that's kind of what I'd be expecting. Overall, the Elliott wave count kind of just looks like we have one more move coming, but this is once again a long-term hold. Even though I do think we could be in for a correction coming up, which would be a better time to be getting in, I'm personally accumulated and am looking to just hold what I have. I'm not really trying to do anything. Yeah, if we did get a big capitulation and we come back down and retest this level, I'm definitely going to be looking to buy a little bit more, but I'm really just looking to hold all of these, considering if we come out to a log scale, the reason I love every single one of these Arbitrum altcoins is because they're right here. They're at the very, 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 very beginning of a new Elliott wave cycle. And that's why I say that if we look to just hold the next couple of years, we're going to be going through this and then this and making all of that profit. All we want to be doing right here is holding. That's it. We don't want to be trying to do anything else, because I can guarantee you we're going to cost ourselves way more profit when these next waves set in and they just end up, you know, breaking out higher than anybody expected. That's what always ends up happening for at least me when it comes to my best returning altcoins, the ones I've made the most money on. A lot of them I took profits on too early just because they broke out so hard that I just didn't think it was possible they'd keep running, only for them to go up another 100x, right? So I think that the best thing we can do is just look to hold the whole cycle. Focus on the end of the year 2025. That's our year for profit taking. That's where the 4-year cycle is projected atop. And I think that that's the most sound strategy we can do, considering the Bitcoin markets have followed that trend almost perfectly for the last 10 years. So that's my plan. You know, do as thou wilt, so to speak. but that's what I'm going to be doing. Now, when we're looking at this, all we finished is a wave 1 impulse, and we're at the very beginning of this wave 3. When I look at this and how big of a breakout it just recently had to begin this new cycle, and it's only sitting at $34 million total market cap. So it really has a lot more upside potential and growth. You know, a 10x would only be $30 million total market cap, $34 million. A 10x would only be 340 million, and a 100x would only be 3.4 billion. So if this is going to be one of the leading DEXs on Arbitrum, I still think 100x is more than reasonable at these levels. In fact, I think it's probably likely, given you actually hold for the next 2 years. So definitely be watching out for Grail. It's one of my favorite ones in the Arbitrum ecosystem. Alrighty, next up is going to be Jones DAO, another one of my favorite DeFi protocols inside of this ecosystem, and it has an absolutely steal of an opportunity right now if you're, looking at Elliott wave theory, or my opinion. Now, what I see inside of this, what it kind of looks like this most recent move right here was kind of just this ABC back up. And then we finished another ABC back down. And now from here, we're starting our very first impulse. This was our wave 1. This was our wave 3. This was our wave 5. So remember, these are just the very beginning subwaves of a much bigger degree of an impulse. So we're going to remove our waves, and we're going to make these small just so it's easier to follow along with. And so basically what that means is this is just a wave 1. We're at the very bottom of our wave 2, just rounding out before we start that next breakout. And I believe that we're headed to the very top of this wave B, being $4.03. That's where we're going to probably end up correcting back down, retest the support at probably like $2.90 about. And then I think that's where we're going to get the next move all the way outside of these prior range highs, which we'll draw the waves in here so you can see a little bit easier, looking something along the lines of this. But what we're looking at here, even if we see another little correction like this, we're going to be looking at this thing making a much bigger impulse all the way back up to the top of this lower high being $14. And this is kind of how it's going to end up accumulating throughout 2024. Overall, I'm not expecting a ton inside of the altcoin markets for 2024. I think that we're going to get this type of a move. There will be, some more upside potential. We're going to get a nice little alt season. There will be a correction to get back in for anybody that was, refusing to accumulate down here. But overall, I'm not expecting a whole lot of major new all-time highs, crazy price discovery, more along the lines of this type of stuff until closer towards the end of the year 2024. Probably like fall to the winter of 2024, which, if you're not from America, basically that would be Q3 or Q4 of 2024. I'm not really anticipating too much craziness until that point, but with the ETF coming up, it's really hard to predict these things, and it only has $6.8 million total market cap. So, I don't think you want to try and predict the short-term price too much. If this breaks out faster and harder than I'm even showing you right now, it's better to have the investment in the market and just be looking to hold than it is trying to, question where the heck the short-term top and where the next bottom is going to be able to get back in. Right now is a good time to be getting in, and that's all that needs to be said. So definitely watch out for Jones DAO. Alrighty guys, next up is going to be another one of the top DEXs inside of the Arbitrum ecosystem, one that I've been holding since all the way back in the last cycle, right over in there, and one that's really, I guess it is up a decent amount from that entry, but not up significantly. All we've been doing is building our new ascending support, just building higher highs and higher lows. Overall, I do think that we're going to end up finding support somewhere down in here, even if we come back down and retest this level being like $9.22. I think that we're going to end up making the next leg up, and it's going to be decently parabolic in here. Overall, this one is going to be one of the better DEXs that you can use. They have some of the best liquidity. I've personally traded on their DEX, and I do have good reviews. They have a lot of different token pairs. The only issues is when you're trading on some of these exchanges, they don't have the greatest liquidity quite yet because, we haven't seen a lot of adoption yet, but I do think that that will change. And already with the lack of liquidity, their exchange does work very well. So I am actually going to continue to hold this long term. And where we're at right now is still an undervalued point. These are just at the very beginning, subwaves. This is just a subwave. This is a subwave. And we're going to end up seeing this market make a much bigger parabolic breakout. So that's why I think that all of these are in the same territory. When we're comparing Elliott waves, they're all at the very beginning of these impulses, making these little subwaves before the much bigger cycles come in. So I'm mainly trying to update you guys with different altcoins that I hold so that you're aware of which ones are the top ones and which ones are looking like they're kind of at the last moment before they do start that next breakout. Now, another one we're going to look at is RDPX. This one is one that has had an absolutely massive capitulation. I don't blame you guys if you don't want to buy this, considering I think I made my last update on YouTube around over in here right before we had this absolutely nasty correction. And this was, you know, basically brought on because they ended up having a ton of the original whales dump this coin. So it did go for a new low. I ended up buying more at about $6.30. So I have actually bought a little bit more because I don't think that this one is going to last. When I look at this setup, it looks exactly like one of my most profitable buys in the last cycle, being Cardano, which it's right here. This is the exact fractal. So if we come over here and overlay it, this is going to give you guys the idea of what I'm trying to share with you, more or less comparing it to the COVID capitulation that we saw. Now, I ended up accumulating more crypto during that capitulation in the last cycle. You know, against everybody's will and best wishes for me, they thought that it was going to go to zero, but I was willing to accumulate more crypto, and I actually got my best buys on Ethereum during that dip. And this looks exactly the same as that setup. The only difference was the only reason this dipped was because the whales sold from the project. So, you know, this could be one of the best buying opportunities we're going to get in Arbitrum, considering I don't think that this one is going to stay at these undervalued points. I don't think the project's dead. I just think that we've been gifted with a truly once-in-a-lifetime type of buy opportunity. If we come in here and look at our indicators, all of our indicators are showing exhaustion. Technically, this made a lower low. All of these were lower lows. Both of these levels, depending on how you draw it, were a lower low. Yet we've maintained higher highs. Yet we've more or less maintained higher highs on both of our momentum indicators. And keep in mind that this is a 3-day time frame. So if I went down to a daily time frame, we're going to have even more so of this sort of bullish divergence playing out. And that's kind of another reason why I do believe that this one is going to end up holding from this level. Big picture, it just looks like a once-in-a-lifetime type of buy opportunity, the same thing that happened with COVID. If we do see a breakout like this, you know, just back up to the level that we were at before this sell-off, you're looking at a 5.5x, and to the range highs, it's about a 7.5x. So if we even just went to the prior all-time highs of the last cycle, 46x, these are the type of buys that, you know, I'm willing to take a gamble. I put a little bit more back into that market considering how much I was down from these initial buys, but I do think that this one's going to stick around, so watch out for RDPX. Alrighty guys, next up is going to be Plutus DAO, another one of my favorite altcoins. This one is kind of looking like Jones DAO, where we're just kind of rounding out right here, and I think that we're going to be starting this next breakout and doing something along the lines of this. So the upside potential just to the range high here is going to be like 3x all the way up to about 5.5x. So that's the big reason. When we're looking at these, we're seeing a lot of these just looking like they finished these big bottom formations. And Plutus DAO just looks like it has this big rounded bottom. And with this rounded bottom, we've now maintained higher highs and higher lows on this new trend line. We have good volume coming in here. We've broken all descending resistance of this correction. Now I think comes the next leg up. And the upside potential is going to be absolutely massive with each and every one of these. Now, we have one final one to share with you guys today. And I think that this one is going to have the most upside potential out of the entire list today because of the fact by holding this, you're actually going to earn reflection rewards. All you have to do is just hold the token. You don't have to stake it, and you're going to be distributed rewards based off of the buy and sell tax that's actually implemented. These guys just launched their new tokenomics. It took half of the tokens from the pre-sell people, and it put them back inside of the rewards pool, and then it unlocked the rest for the people that were actually participating. So there's not going to be any more sell side pressure coming from those token unlocks or anything. And with the new volume coming in here, and with it only sitting at 500k market cap, I do believe that this one is going to run in a big way. Now, I have actually accumulated more, and I do believe it's actually sitting at just under the price that I accumulated at. So you'd be getting it at the same entry price that I just recently bought in, considering I bought before this most recent breakout. So to see it coming back down is actually giving everybody another opportunity at the same price. When I'm looking at this, if we just went back up to the range high, it's like 3.5x. And I do think that we're going to be making another cycle right here. This is just the first sort of impulse to begin this cycle. And this is one that could actually take off in a huge way, considering how nasty the cycle bear market was. It's a 75x to the prior all-time highs. Even if it doesn't even go all the way to that level and only makes it to the mid-cycle, you're still looking at a 20x. And you got to keep in mind that if this thing runs, the amount of money that you're also going to be gaining in rewards. For example, I got in $1,800 at the very beginning of this. Currently, the market is only up a few X from that entry from the pre-sale. So it's not even up that much from the pre-sale. And from that point, in this cycle, I generated $30,000 worth of rewards just for holding $1,800. So if you're looking at right now, currently in this cycle, it's going to have another one of those bull runs. And I think that when this thing takes off, because there's no more sell side pressure taking place in the token unlocks from the pre-sale investors, I do believe that the upside potential could even be bigger than what we saw before. The thing about these Arbitrum altcoins altcoins. The thing about all of these Arbitrum altcoins is they all took a nasty beating and pretty much all fully retraced inside of these capitulation cycles. Some of them held up better than others, but regardless, I think that all of these are undervalued. All of these are about to be starting new cycles, and it doesn't really matter which ones you buy. I've given you guys good ones fundamentally. I've given you guys some, well, I think all of them are good fundamentally, but I think that some of them are more undervalued than others. Some of them have lesser market cap, but most of these you're going to find are DeFi related protocols because that's where the money is taking place in Arbitrum. Look for DeFi, look for undervalued projects because the majority of the ecosystem is undervalued. Search for the projects that are going to continue to get grants distributed in the form of Arbitrum tokens themselves, because that's only going to continue to grow their liquidity, increase TVL, and once again grow and make more adoption with this chain long term. So guys, if you found value in this video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of these updates. If you guys want to join the Discord server, every single one of these cryptos were an earlier signal posted in Discord that are up significantly, or that are, you know, fairly close to the entry, like Hamachi Finance. Some of these other ones are actually pretty close to the original entries, and I think that now is an amazing opportunity of getting into Arbitrum, considering the token price is breaking new all-time highs, considering all of our major coins in the ecosystem are looking like they're about to reverse. I don't think we're going to have a better opportunity. So if you guys want to see how I'm investing, which new cryptos I'm going to continue to be buying over this cycle in Arbitrum, links are in the description to go ahead and check that out. Anything I'm doing with my money, I post it all in a private Discord server. So if you guys do want to actually get access to that private group, you have to sign up on my website, and that's all linked in the description of this video. It's just a one-time fee, and you'll have lifetime access to anything I'm doing in the markets, buying, selling, trading, stocks, commodities, NFTs, literally anything I'm doing with my money long term. I'm going to show you guys exactly my moves going forward over these bull runs. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you all so much for the support. And with that being said, I will catch you in the next one. As always, peace out.